When I first did this speech, I wasn't picking on any particular group of people. I just wanted to expose the discrepancies in the media's depiction of certain groups. I've studied and analyzed the media for years and became fed up with the stereotypes and how blacks are unfairly presented in the media. So I created Young African Americans Against Media Stereotypes to bring awareness and to raise questions, especially to the media. I want to know why, during the 1990s, FBI reported 55% of crack cocaine arrests, the offenders were white. However, during the same time period, 90% of crack cocaine news stories, the offenders were black. Why white drug users were portrayed as partying rich people just having fun, and black drug users were portrayed with crime, gangs, and poverty. Why is the FBI spending more time going after steroid users while crack dealers are spending time selling crack? Why does the news give more sound bites to a hot dog eating contest than a kidnapped black child? And why is there more news coverage of a pregnant panda bear than a missing or murdered black woman? And why in 1994 did the news pay more attention to 2 dead bodies lying on OJ Street while ignoring nearly 1 million dead bodies lying in the streets of Rwanda? Why? These are the type of questions I want to bring to the media, but I also have some questions to raise for ourselves. How come news coverage of black homicides increased almost 50% while black homicides decreased 30%? How come Tookie Williams got the chair and Charles Manson didn't? How come there are 0 black-owned national and regional television networks while other minorities have many? How come programming for BET is mostly entertainment? How come they owned by Viacom? How come black youth watch 50% more television than any other segment of the population, while they're at that crucial age of socialization, the age where they're learning how to participate in society? How come the media has replaced the church, the community, and the school as the #1 agent of socialization? How come? Think about this. From the end of the civil rights movement until the 1980s, black youth were closing the educational test score gap with white youth. Then around 1988, test scores for black youth began dropping, and social ills such as high school dropout rates and criminal records started rising. What happened? Many psychiatrists report that these social ills are symptoms of a bigger problem: low self-esteem. So it's only imperative to study and analyze any agent that has an effect on the self-esteem. I chose to study the hip-hop culture. I call this study the Thuggerization of Black Youth Self-Esteem. The Thuggerization is the media's socialization of glorifying the thug image. A subtle message that being a thug will make them more attractive. The thug image is similar to the female body image. For years, the media sent subtle messages to women. If they want to be sexy and happy, they needed to be thin. After years of this type of socialization, it's only natural that some women will have a low self-body image and are willing to do anything to become thin, because the media was equating beauty with being thin, just like it equates masculinity with being a thug. So young blacks were bombarded with these thug images. Images in music videos with thug characters with pretty girls, fancy cars, and big houses. Images of success and power while glamorizing criminal activity. You had pretty females rapping and singing songs like "I Need a Roughneck," "You Got That Gangsta Lovin'," "Where Are My Soldiers?" or "So What If They Say You're a Thug?" The message here, if you want success and a pretty girl, you have to dress like a thug. Being a regular guy just isn't good enough. And these thug characters' success into the mainstream media created this climate and this atmosphere legitimizing this thug image. And this thuggerization process helped push a ghetto mentality to the forefront of some representation of blackness. In other words, we have to act a certain way, dress a certain way, or speak a certain way to be considered a real black person. And black people in the spotlight made contributions to this process, from black movie directors making these ghetto-themed movies to thugged-out professional athletes, to black comedians talking about roaches and the projects. And Hollywood has a long history of flooding the market with negative movies about the black community and portraying young blacks as criminals, entertainers, or athletes. And then once the stereotype is embedded in the brain, they think they're off the hook by making a few positive movies. Great movies like Achille and the Bee and The Great Debaters could have been made in the early 90s instead of Menace to Society or New Jack City. The great actors in Love and Basketball could have been just as romantic in Love and Law. There could have been Medical Dreams instead of Hoop Dreams. And black actors and actresses made huge contributions to the negative stereotypes about black people. So this begs some more questions. What about what we do to ourselves? How much did we contribute to the negative images on screen and off? Do we have any responsibility? I think so. I think we have a lot of responsibility for what has happened. However, when it comes to the media, I look at it two ways. First, if someone is in an abusive relationship for a long time, there will be people who look at that person being abused and say, why are you in that relationship? It's your fault for letting that person treat you that way. And I understand the point those people are trying to make. However, that doesn't mean we should let the abuser off the hook. The abuser doesn't have the right to abuse regardless. Just like the media doesn't have a right to take what a few of us do and make it look like we all do it. That is stereotyping. Second, this ghetto mentality that some of us have today, this mentality is less than 30 years old. So how did it become some representation of black people when black people have been here since the beginning of time? 60 years ago, my grandfather wasn't walking around with his pants hanging off his behind. And my grandmother wasn't talking while her neck was rolling. This mentality has nothing to do with black people. Where did this mentality come from? Who is behind pushing this mentality to the youth? And how did a mentality that is less than 30 years old come to symbolize black people? At Yams, we are trying to build a grassroots coalition to address these pertinent questions. We do not blame the media for the negative issues that exist in the black community. We just want to point out the media's contribution and how the media has been a key ingredient in this recipe of self-destruction.